3-day weekend. Somebody said at my school district on a Zoom call, I'm not looking forward to the 3-day weekend.
Say what?
I almost jumped through the Zoom and choked him out. I said, what's going on? What you trying to mess up our hustle during February? I don't like 3-day weekends because I have to prepare to go back to work Tuesday. I said, what kind of stinking thinking is that?
Exactly.
What kind of backwards thinking is that?
Somebody trying to think they scoring brownie points. That's what it is.
Man, I was like, oh, you saying that in front of the superintendent. I'll work straight through Black History Month. 1585. The fastest man this side of the Mississippi on my right, Jimmy Mack, a.k.a.
Man, never had that designation.
We gotta give you some nicknames, man. A.k.a. The Blur. A.k.a. Kidney Stones. A.k.a.
Man, now that was true.
A.k.a.
That was true.
A.k.a. Sticky Fingers. A.k.a. 1985 was all the way live. I'm your boy AC, a.k.a. Orange Mamba, a.k.a. T. Cobbs from LBC, a.k.a. Lil Philly T. What's the show, man? What's our show today? Let's see what's on here while the cat's coming in.
Man.
Did I share?
That's funny.
Did you see it?
You shared it. I'm trying to share it on my end.
All right. Let me get this right here. Yeah, I was the Orange Mamba back about 10 years ago. Then I tore my knee up. Now I'm like the Orange Turtle.
Why orange, man? That's Trump's color, man.
I was orange before Trump. So since I'm my native heritage of Eastern Pequot Indian, I'm not quite red. They call me Red Ant in some circles. My godchildren's mother called me Red Ant. But I ain't been red since I was young when I had a red afro. So I've been a little bit darker than yellow. So I've not been called yellow. So I'm a little in the middle between brown and orange. So I brown and yellow, so I kind of got orange. My good brother, JaVale Jackson, nicknamed me the Orange Mamba. So when I could still play ball a little bit, I could slash and bite you just a little bit. I couldn't kill you. I can nick your ankle a little bit. That Orange Mamba. Let me get this.
I kind of like the Red Ant. I kind of like the Red Ant.
Okay.
The Red Ant was pretty.
AKA Red Ant, AKA the formerly known as the Orange Mamba. All right, man. We're gonna finish up our Super Bowl thoughts, takeaways, and then all week long we've been debating dudes, trolling dudes. See, you and I, we're notorious on we throw little UCLA educated jabs at brothers. They don't even know they're being trolled. But when they're talking about who's the next this and who's the next that, who's the best at that, who's the GOAT in this, why do we got to name and label? Why can't we just bask in the greatness of people? So we're going to talk about why do fans in the media feel the need to label athletes. And it's not just us fans. The media does it. Your mama does it.
Do it.
Yeah, your mama do it. Your mama, Jamie, you gonna be just like your daddy. Why? Why can't I just be like me? And we got a new game, man. It's called What If.
What if?
Since we all want to say who's great and who would have been good and what, let's play the game. What if? For example, what if Bill Russell played today? And our 5 favorite all time, regardless of sport. That's the caveat. Regardless of sport.
Regardless of sport.
1585. Let's get into it, man. Intro. If it works. Stat Mac Funk. That sounds like a song. The Stat Mac Funk keeps you right in your trunk. Hey.
It was tough, man. Picking my favorite athletes of all time.
My
That was tough, man.
my honorable mention list is so long. I need 10, but for the purpose of our show being under 2 hours, hopefully an hour and a half, maybe an hour one day, we find a way to get some sponsorship and have a show on Sirius Radio, whatever we want to have it on, getting paid. We have a more stringent time window, but since we got our free time just to talk trash, I got a list of like 25 favorites, man.
Hey, man, it was hard cutting down the favorites. That was a tough one, man.
Yeah. All right, man. So all week long, we've been hearing sports pundits, our friends, loved ones, complain or praise the Super Bowl. Before we put a nail in the coffin, as we heard the referees try to defend what we saw with our own eyes. I said, all that sounds great, that's within the rule book, but they robbed me of the experience of watching the Super Bowl. What are your last thoughts, last words on the Super Bowl as a whole? The game, the referees, entertainment. Put a stamp on it.
All right. First of all, let's give a congratulations to both teams, man. Getting to a Super Bowl, we know it's hard. And for Tom Brady to get to 10, and for all those talented players on the Buccaneers to get there, man, glory to them. Hope they enjoy this moment. It's a moment that very few get to have. But that game, man, it was, you're talking to people, man. I always try to find the turning points of a game. The turning point started when the flags. Tampa Bay couldn't move the ball until they started getting flags. And to me, that changes the people that play the game. Some get it, some don't. How that can change the trajectory of who can do what and how the game is played. And I think that favored for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Not saying that's the reason why they won, because Kansas City, they came to the game handicapped. Their linemen were down. You had an incident with one of the coaches with Reed's son in a car accident. Quite sure that weighed heavily on people's mind. But the game I thought was going to be a much better game than what it was. It was kind of like a letdown. The halftime show I wasn't expecting much because I really couldn't tell you what the Weeknd sings. I'm not a Weeknd fan. I remember when he had that bad haircut back in the days. That's all I can remember of him. I went outside and actually watered the grass during halftime, thinking about what I would do in the second half.
He actually had a message, though. The Weeknd had a message in his performance. I didn't know the message until after the fact.
I missed it. Like I said, I went outside to water my grass because I was a little mad at what Andy Reid did, calling the timeouts, which led to the PI, which led to the 21-6 deficit at the half when they could have just went in 14-6 because Tampa Bay was going to run the clock out. That changes the whole strategy of the game. But I don't like either team. I'm most definitely not a Chiefs fan. Really, really not a Bucs fan. So it was good to see a Super Bowl even in the pandemic. But to me, overall, the game was about a C+ at the most when it comes to Super Bowl performances. That's the grade I would give it out because the refs played too big of a role. I didn't want to see Brady win another one because you know how they're gonna do it now. He'll be the greatest quarterback ever because Jameis couldn't take that same talent and do that. But they also didn't change the offense to tailor Jameis's strengths. They just you got to run what we run. Tom Brady comes, check down Charlie can do whatever he wants. Down Charlie. It is what it was. I'm glad we got through a football season, so I'm satisfied with that.
Yeah. As I heard the referees, Anthony Carter and Rodney Saucier explained to me how calls are made and they don't have a predetermined feeling of who holds and who's more likely to be undisciplined. I don't believe that for 1 second. That you do not know going into a contest who you're calling the game for, like who you're going up against. And that's just if you think that way, and that's why I always go back to, man, some refs act like cops. They act a certain kind of way when they feel threatened by someone questioning their judgment. So I'm like you. The referees took the joy. Neither one of the teams are my team either. I still wanted to see a good game. I was robbed of a good and epic matchup. Weapons everywhere. Let them play. So when they were talking about I'm talking about Rodney and Anthony Carter, about how holding is holding no matter if it's 5 yards or not. You play receiver. I play both receiver and DB. I can't tell you the number of times in a 5-yard route that either I'm pushing off or I'm grabbing, no matter which. If I'm playing, it's 5 yards and they're playing press. It's going to be some contact. And it is just like, and then the call that they threw on Honey Badger on the goal line, I said, that's a play Tom Brady kind of saw happening and threw the ball just because he knew it would be a call. That's a good veteran play. And, you know, I'm not mad at that one, but I'm more mad at the incidental, and I'm more mad about that 5-yard holding when you're playing against a 6'5", 225-pound receiver running a 5-yard hitch. He's going to do a natural push-off, so you have to grab.
Yeah.
So I was just like, but, you know, those are small tic-tacs, but that field goal penalty that took away points, that gave them 7 points instead of 3, I was like, they called the guy offsides that wasn't even offsides. They called number 20 offsides and 17 was offsides. So they didn't get the call right in the first place. In the second place, what referee doesn't want a clean game? I'm going to call it because this gives the Buccaneers a first down. It's 4th and 5. So I was like, you know, some of these things, man, and then 95 yards first time ever. First half, that's a lot of. So I'm like, you know what? They're playing against the team and the refs, and we're going to be robbed of an opportunity to see a great game. So all the accolades that would have gone directly to the Bucs, now we have to kind of put our lips in the air and say, y'all had some help. And I hate when that happens, man. I like when refs let the kids play. Yeah. So
I mean, you seen my post that morning. I had called it. I said this game will be determined by some officiating, especially in the defensive backfield. I mean, I hate that it's right, but it's kind of predictable. Going into the game all week long, we're hearing that KCDB's hold, KCDB hold, KCDB's hold. So you know the refs are going to be looking at that. They're going to be spotting that. Because before every game, refs do ask coaches. I'm quite sure in the NFL it's a little bit different. They don't ask them right before the game, what is it that I should be looking for that this team does that you think that, you know, that we should be looking out for? And you let them know as a coach. I mean, that's at the high school level. We let them know. So sometimes, man, it'll get, you know, once you bring something to the ref's attention, believe me, they're looking for it. They're looking for it because they think that they're not going to give the other team a unfair advantage, and then in the process, you're actually giving your team an advantage. It's gamesmanship. I'm quite sure that Tampa Bay said that the KCDB's showed film probably of them holding in that first meeting, and then now you get this.
Yep. And it's something that actually can be called almost every play on either side in any situation. It's almost impossible to play a clean game. So, and then just to kind of talk back about what we were talking about with the referee conversation on the collective podcast on Thursday was the inside, the shoulder pads, hands holding. I was like, until you've been held and driven out of bounds, like I was in Tennessee back in 1996, and you could not get away because he had his fingers in your armpits. And he was twice my size. I'm 195, 200. This man was 265, 270. Ran a 4.6 40. Got his hands underneath my shoulder pads and my armpits and put me on Tennessee's bench. And the referee said, get in the weight room. That's why I was like, y'all, man, y'all kill me with these subjective calls, man. Y'all get to call things that the way you see them. So it goes back to what kind of man are you and how you want to call it. Let's see what the homie's talking about. Well, my man Tremel saying, do we feel Mahomes threw his team under the bus?
Was it the truth?
I mean, shoot. He ran for 400 yards backwards. He ran for 500 yards backwards. He played hard. He threw the ball, hit dudes in the face mask. If it's true, it's not throwing him under the bus.
Yes, if it's the truth, it's not throwing him under the bus. I mean, you don't want to hear it. You know, like if your wife tell you your feet stink, it's the truth. I don't want to hear it.
What did he say, Mello?
It's the truth.
What did he actually say that would have been? Oh man, he shouldn't have said that about his own teammates. I don't remember him saying anything that wasn't, man, I'm running for my life. We got to get better. I don't know. I don't know. I know they know that he played his butt off and they didn't help him. I saw 3 balls hit dudes in the face mask.
Yeah.
Greg Maldonado said, reminded me when the Ravens won the Super Bowl with Dilfer at quarterback. Tampa Bay didn't have to do anything more than manage the O. Oh, you mean Tom Brady didn't have to do anything but manage the O with the Bucs defense abusing their chins on the O-line. Yeah, I mean, 200 yards is pedestrian.
Yeah.
I can throw for 150. And, you know, watch it again, Jim. The refs were too influential. I can't watch it again. I can watch a couple of plays, but then I'm like, how do you call that? And I was like, yeah. I'm like, all right. Coach Lauer in the house. Yeah. So he's a defensive guy. So I'm wondering how you feel about them calls in the Super Bowl, Carlos. Coach Los, Long Beach Poly. Yeah, it was unfortunate, man. Refs control the game.
Very unfortunate.
Whether we like it or not, the refs control the game.
Yeah.
Oh well. We wait till next year.
Next year, Eagles, Chargers, so we don't have to worry about all this.
Eagles, Chargers, 2 new coaches taking their team to the chip. I'll put $2
Eagles
on
getting
it.
rest.
We're getting a lot of
Eagles
rest.
getting rest.
We get our first off season. Long off season.
Eagles getting rest, man. Watch.
We get 2 good draft picks for Carson Wentz. We might even get Nick Foles back. Nick Foles is the best backup quarterback in the history of football. Nick Foles.
Throw them foes.
Hey, he needs to come in the NFC Championship game and take us home, brother. Take us all the way home, Nick Foles. You got a statue out front. Why not come back? All right, man. So second topic: why do we? I'm guilty too. Why do fans, the media, everybody feel they must label somebody? Either it's the GOAT, either it's the next this, next that, the greatest of all time. And it's mostly subjective ideas of things that you can't measure. It's impossible. But why do we feel the need to do things like that?
It starts off as just banter, man. We all are fans. We have our preference of the players that we love, who we like, the style of play that we like. And then it gets to where it hits our egos a little bit. You know, I'm guilty of it sometimes where I'm just like, how you can't see what I see? It's not more so that your player is better than my player. Because at the end of the day, I really don't think we all care that much about what player is better than what player. But it's like, how can you not see it the way I see it? And then that's when it becomes a little bit more personal. But I mean, we're in the age where the sports media is just as popular and just as noticeable as the players. So they got to keep stepping up their game and comparing players. Like, we don't really know who these players are personally. We know what we see. We don't know what the play calls are. We don't know what the situations really are, except for what we see on TV. We don't know how it is unless you're in the game. You don't really know how this stuff goes. But I just think it's just something that is inside of us to say, my opinion is better than yours. That's basically what it is. It's not really about the athletes, I think, at the end of the day, because you can pull up any stat or you can move the goalpost to any way to fit the player that you favor. But at the end of the day, I think it's more so is that I out-argued you about this player, or I did something that was bigger. My argument is bigger than your argument when it comes to it. So that's what I think it more so is. I don't think it's more so that people really care too much about it. It's more so now with the sports fan and the media and stuff like that, I can out-argue somebody on the point. It's not really about the players.
Yeah, my boy B Webb said, for the sake of argument. So I get involved in some of those conversations just for entertainment value. I could care less because I don't even half the time I don't know these people. I don't get paid by the team. I'm not his publicist. I'm just a fan that has an opinion. But why is it necessary for me to say Kobe's the next Jordan, LeBron James is the next Magic Johnson, Tom Brady's the GOAT quarterback, he's better than, Tom Brady's the best athlete of all time, and you start a barn fire of takes and arguments, and people want to have something to say because they have an argument or they have a belief that whatever you just said is false. And it's like people get, their panties in a bunch, and it gets to a point where now you losing friends over something that you have. I mean, it's not even that serious, but it's something that we feel like every time we see, like LaMelo Ball. Oh, hey, he's the next Anthony Hardaway. Like, I'm like, it's cool to compare people to what they remind you of, but don't go to the point where it's not even enjoyable to watch a game because you're arguing with somebody about who's better than somebody and who you think they play like. Because I've seen a lot of cats on Facebook and wherever else you debate and argue about stuff, come to almost fights, man. Almost come to insulting family after a few back and forths, getting in your feelings and not realizing you're being trolled. So it's crazy, man. It's crazy, man.
I mean, I don't go lie. I've gotten to a couple of them because I'm just like, man, I don't get it, because to me, sometimes it's the inconsistency of the argument. You can be having a conversation with a person, and y'all can be talking about the same exact sport with two different players, and they will say one thing for that group of players, and then y'all rehatch the conversation for some other players, and they'll be going against the same argument that they just proved a week ago. You be like, dude, really?
Yeah, you're gonna go back there again.
Come on, dude, that's not, you didn't say that a week ago, and then it goes, that was different. Like, dude, you just, the argument of convenience. And that's the only thing that kills me. I mean, when you know how it is, we went to UCLA, man. If you was in a class, I had women's studies before class. The debates in there.
I don't know why you take that class. Oh, man.
Those women remembered everything. They remembered every little thing you said. And that's what got me, all right, let me keep tabs on what people saying, because they would use anything you said prior to that argument that y'all had that day against you. And I was like, oh, man.
It's called receipts. I got receipts. I know what you said. I got receipts. Oh, man. My man Greg said Rocky Marciano will beat Muhammad Ali. Man, Rocky Marciano weighed 205 pounds. What did Rocky Marciano weigh? Like 215 or whatever? And it had
I don't even know if he was 200 pounds, man. Rocky Marciano looked like a small cat. He looked really small.
His arm, his reach was like, he had 65-inch arms. Like, he didn't have no reach. He was a brawler inside, and he was controlled by the mob. Those fighters were afraid to beat Rocky Marciano for their life and their families' lives. They made an offer he couldn't refuse. And
I'll take that dive.
Take that dive, man.
I'll take that dive for that money.
And James Mack said politics and sports will ruin relationships.
Politics really ruin them.
Well, in the OJ case, that ruined some friendships too. OJ, bro. We was,
man, what a year.
Man, I was in the cold tub with Brian Wilmer, and the OJ verdict came down, and we was happy. And he was like, dude, I can't believe you're happy that murderer gets to go free. I said, man, if that ain't the pot calling the kettle the pot. I said, man, for 400 years we've been convicted of things we did not do. Finally, we get exonerated for something we did do. Like, I believe he guilty. He guilty, but hey, he worked the system. Y'all been working the system for a long time in your favor. This is one. I'm not happy those people are dead. I feel bad about that. But the system is in place to do what it does. And OJ said he ain't black, and he proved it for a little bit. Then he came back and stole his own stuff, and now he's black again. OJ, come on, OJ. You had a chance, bro. You had a book called If I Did It. Oh, man. J Mack and I got a heated Mayweather and Pac-Man argument. What's heated about it? Are you crashed, Jimmy? I think Jimmy's crashed. Let's see. Yeah, I think he's crashed. So it is a fine line between fandom and friendships. You still there, Jimmy? You crashed. Ali would kill Rocky Marciano. He would toy with him for about 15 rounds, and he'd become that close to within his life. Let me see if I can't get Jimmy Mack back. If it don't fit, you must have quit. Hey, brother. And that whole case had me laughing, man. Uh-oh, let me see what happened to our phone call. What happened? Oh, start the call. Technical difficulties, y'all. And this time it's not me. I'll keep the show going until Jimmy pop back on. So yeah, man, it is crazy. Like now, we talk about top 10 running backs of all time. People will argue that OJ is not top 10, but OJ before the murder case, maybe top 5 running back of all time. And people will argue down that OJ ain't top 5 running back of all time. All right, y'all, let's see what we got here. Where's my slate? All right, here we go. Your Mac is back.
Am I back, KC?
Yeah. You back, and you never never be whacked. So this time, like I said, I'm happy. It wasn't me. I'm like Shaggy. It wasn't me. Eating Cheetos. It wasn't me. This time it was your technical difficulty, your internet. You on that Earthlink, America Online.
I got the AOL America Online.
You got that old America Online. It's time to upgrade to that cable modem. All right, man. So the game is what if. I run off of what if to you. You run off of what if to me, and you give me your prediction, your summary of what might have happened if circumstances were different.
Okay. Got you.
What if? So the slate said, what if Bill Russell played today?
What if Bill Russell played today? All right. So, wait, that's the first one you want to go with?
Go for it.
All right. So, Bill Russell played today. All right. How did I have this set up? I got my notes. Let me get to my notes. All right. So, Bill Russell, if he played today, would be a better offensively inclined Dennis Rodman.
Whoa.
The reason why I say that is because Bill Russell was a defensive guy. He really played on the defensive end. He grabbed rebounds. He did everything that Dennis Rodman do. We're talking about a guy that's a 5-time MVP. He averaged 15 points and 22 rebounds a game for his career. And the most people go, well, he was taller than everybody. He was 6'10", 215 pounds. So he was a big guy, but he wasn't that big. And people go, well, he didn't play up against good competition. These are just the Hall of Fame big men that he had to face. Wilt Chamberlain, Willis Reed, Walt Bellamy, Nate Thurman, Dolph Shays, Pettit, Jerry Lucas, Lovelet, Connie Hawkins, and Mel Daniels. All these guys are 6'8" and above. Remember, this is a 6'10", 215-pound guy. All these guys are awesome rebounders, awesome defensive players. Some of these guys were elite scorers. You put him in today's game, and you're leaving Bill Russell in the paint. He's going to grab a lot of rebounds. There's a lot of misses nowadays from three-point shots. You're talking about a very agile, athletic man. And he's going to get a lot of putbacks because the big quality of the big man nowadays is not that good. So I'm going to say Bill Russell will still be a very good player. Depending on the team, he will be a very intricate part to that team's success because you can't take the heart out of the man. And to say that he played in modern times, I'm quite sure he would have learned the modern game. Probably would have developed a better jump shot, played back to the basket. So when I'm saying he's better than Dennis Rodman, I'm basically saying that he would be a KG type. Long, slender, good defensive player, and he would rebound and block shots and do what it takes for his team to win like he did when he played. So that's my what if for Bill Russell.
Would he have a championship?
Like I said, it all depends on where he's playing. If he's playing with Bron, they would clean everybody's clock. But if he was playing with Golden State, he would have got one because he would have been their board man. He would have been the big man that they really need. Not that they really needed one, but he would have got one. So it depended on what team he would have been on. Because talent wins anyway. There's never been an NBA team that won a championship that wasn't very talented. So it all depends on who he played for. As long as he ain't playing for the Timberwolves, he probably would get one.
But he don't get 11.
No, he's not getting 11. The game is different now for him to get 11.
But he's the GOAT. He's the most accomplished basketball player of all time.
I mean, he did what he had to do for that time period, man. I mean, you can't help when you're born. You can't help who you play against. And at that time, man, you got to think about it. This guy went to University of San Francisco for 2 seasons and won 2 championships there. And then went to the NBA and for 13 seasons won 11 championships and took 2 of those as the player coach. So this guy was a winner. I mean, he had the intangible. He knew what to do. I wouldn't say he's the GOAT, but when it comes to being a guy, as they say, a guy who did anything to win, he obviously did. Think about this: in 15 seasons, he won 2 NCAA championships and 11 NBA championships. So the guy is a winner.
Yep.
I mean, in 15 seasons, 13 chips in 15 years. It's crazy.
Yeah. All right, what you got?
All right, you ready for your first what if?
Yeah, let's do it.
All right, so your first what if. What if the Celtics never lose Len Bias, who was the number 2 pick in 1986, and Reggie Lewis, the 22nd pick in 1987? What happens to the Celtics franchise?
I think the Celtics win 5 more championships. I think Len Bias was the LeBron James of that era as far as size, mass, and ability. Reggie Lewis was the Dwayne Wade of that era. Both died prematurely, so we would never know. But if they were to live and be the next wave of Celtic greats, the Celtics would have 22 championships right now, and I would argue that Michael Jordan may only have 3 championships, because those first 3 he got were when 1990. When was his first one?
91.
91. So that would mean that Len Bias and Reggie Lewis will be in their prime, 5 years into their careers. I don't think Jordan wins the East if the Celtics have Len Bias and Reggie Lewis. Because remember, Michael Jordan said he was only afraid of Hakeem Olajuwon. And it wasn't that he was afraid of them, but he just knew that they would not beat them if they were on point, like they were that year he retired. So I think Len Bias, if you look back at the Maryland versus North Carolina games, Len Bias could care less about an Air Jordan. Len Bias was going to be that dude, and it was really unfortunate he passed away when he did. And then Reggie Lewis, I believe, had a heart problem and passed away.
Heart murmur.
Yeah, and so it was really, really unfortunate. And I'm no way a Celtics fan. I'm a Sixer fan. But that Celtics team would have been loaded for at least 10 years. So Jordan would have been Hover Jordan, not Air Jordan. Hover. He would have been hovering, but Len Bias would have been his kryptonite, man. Hover Jordan if Len Bias does not pass away and Reggie Lewis does not pass away.
So we be getting our what would it be? Whatever they would call them, the Bias sneakers. We have those. Would they be made by Reebok?
He was gonna go Converse, I think. He was gonna go get his weapons like Magic and Bird, them ugly weapons. And Isaiah Thomas had them weapons. Them was some ugly shoes, man. But we got them because Magic Johnson had them.
You wore them, though.
They was like 5 pounds each. Couldn't even jump. These aren't made for jumping. All right, for number 2 for you, man. All right, so what if Nick Anderson makes those free throws in the playoffs?
They still lose. They lose in 6.
What about Nick Anderson? Does Nick Anderson
his career doesn't fall apart the way it did? When I was looking at the numbers of this, so I mean, bear with me. Hakeem averaged 32-11 with 5 assists, 2 blocks, 2 steals. Drexler was 21 with 9 rebounds, 6 assists, and 1 steal. And Robert Horry, I know people go, Robert Horry be along for the ride. Robert Horry, 17 points per game, 10 rebounds, 3 assists, 3 steals, and 2.3 blocks per game. They outplayed the Magic's big 3 of Shaq Penny and Horace Grant, with the combined total of 72 points per game, 30 rebounds, 16 assists, 6 steals, and 4 blocks. While the Magic big 3
was 66 points, 29 rebounds, 16 assists, 3.6 blocks, and 2 steals per game. So no matter how I think the game was over, the series was over when Houston made that big comeback in game 1. I think that's when they were able to do it. But I don't see Orlando winning that. I think it goes 6. I think Orlando has a little bit of steam. They will win game 1 with those free throws, probably win 1 in Houston and not get swept. But they would have lost in 6. I think Houston was just a better team at that point.
But wasn't Nick Anderson on the cusp of becoming an all-star?
He was on that cusp of becoming an all-star. He would have been a very good player. But after that, man, it was kind of like Nick Anderson just kind of fell apart, man. He
couldn't even shoot free throws anymore, right? He became a 6%. He struggled. He struggled.
He got to Sacramento because he struggled the next season with Orlando. Then he went to Sacramento and he still was struggling with his free throws. I think it mentally broke him to know that. Well, he feels that he lost them that championship. But that was game 1. They still had 6 more games to go if they bounce back.
He got the yips. The permanent yips. The permanent yips. I don't ever want to hear you say free throw again. Hey, man, we got free throws. We got free throws. You don't. Oh, man. All right, what you got?
All right, here's your number 2, man. What if UCLA doesn't blow that 17-point lead in the fourth quarter versus Miami in 98 and have to face Tennessee in the first BCS championship game? What happens in that game?
Oh, man, we win the championship. We were loaded that year. That was such an unfortunate loss, man. I mean, I watched that thing, and I'm just like, this is the worst thing that could have ever happened. This is going to hurt UCLA football for the next 10 years. Because you imagine when your championship game, I believe we had the talent to beat Tennessee in the championship. And then you figure if we win the national championship, that changes our entire recruiting just landscape. How we measure up to SC, how we measure up to Oregon. I mean, Toledo and Borges are, these geniuses now, and kids was just come in flocks. Like, name a star receiver we had during that time. Like, after that loss, I think that was the downfall of UCLA football. So if we win that game, you can look at a much brighter last 10, 15 years of UCLA football since we've been gone. So that was a program changing loss.
Yep. I agree.
All right, man. So let's see. I got one for you. What if Michael Jordan was drafted by the Portland Trailblazers instead of the Chicago Bulls third?
We would have had a very exciting small team going out there. Let me give you some numbers on this, right? Portland, the year before they drafted Michael Jordan, 83-84, they were 48-34. This is their starting lineup. Michael Thompson, Calvin Nat, Jim Paxson, Fat Lever, Clyde Drexler. Those were their best players.
That's small.
Because Clyde Drexler was coming off the bench and Fat Lever was coming off the bench. But that team had no 7-footers on their team. So the next year, say if they decide, you know what, we're going to take the most exciting player out of college basketball, we're not going to get a 7-footer because Michael Thompson's only 6'10". So they bring in Michael Jordan. So the lineup that they had without Michael Jordan was this. Kiki Vandeweghe, because they traded Kiki Vandeweghe away and got, they traded Fat Lever away and got Kiki Vandeweghe. Paxson, Thompson, Drexler, and Darnell Valentine would have been their other starter, right? You add Bowie in there, now you have a 7-footer. So with Jerome Kersey on the bench, he was a rookie that year. Down the lineup with Michael Jordan, Kiki Vandeweghe at 6'8", Paxson at 6'6", Thompson at 6'10", Drexler at 6'7", Jordan at 6'6", because I doubt Drexler, Jordan, or Paxson are coming off the bench. So Darnell Valentine, who's 6'1", is coming off the bench. With Jerome Kersey also on the bench at 6'7". They would have been a very exciting small team, explosive in the open court, but then they would have to face the West, and these are some of the better teams in the West during that time period. The Houston Rockets who ran out of lineup with Hakeem Olajuwon 7 feet, Ralph Sampson 7'4", Louis Lloyd 6'6", John Lucas 6'3", Rodney McCray 6'7". It's no way the Portland Trailblazers are going to defend the Houston Rockets in that time period with the way basketball was played then.
Right. Next
you have the Denver Nuggets, who lost in the Western Conference Finals that next year was Jordan's rookie year. They would have been the only team that that Portland team would have matched up well, at least height-wise. Alex English, who's a Hall of Famer. You have Fat Lever, who's a 2-time All-Star and an All-Defensive player. Kelvin Nat, T.R. Dunn, and Wayne Cooper, whoever those dudes are. But we know how the Denver Nuggets love to run the court. So
right.
It would have been a track
meet.
The Utah Jazz. Now this is a crazy one. The Utah Jazz. You have Adrian Dantley, who's a Hall of Famer. He's 6'5", but he's a baller. Thurl Bailey, who's 6'11", Mark Eaton 7'4", Daryl Griffith 6'4", and Rick Green, who's 6 feet, with John Stockton coming off the bench. No way they would have been able to hang with the Jazz on the inside. They'd just dumped it down to Mark Eaton and Adrian Dantley.
When did Carmelo come on the scene?
He comes the next season.
Oh.
So they would have got Malone the next season. It'd have been no way Portland beats the Jazz. And then the Lakers, who's the premier team of the West. You have Kareem, who's 7'2", Magic 6'9", Worthy 6'9", Byron Scott 6'3", Cooper 6'5", Kurt Rambis comes off the bench at 6'8", McAdoo 6'9". That's 4 Hall of Famers on his team. So it's no way that Drexler and Jordan is taking these teams down. It would have been exciting. They would have gave these teams some run for their money. But those teams in those days where you ran your offense through your big men, how are they stopping the premier big men in the league? They wouldn't have been able to do it. They would have been exciting. They would have probably eventually tried to draft another big man, but they would have been Drexler and Jordan on the same court, running up and down the court. They'd have been dunking on people. There'd have been so many highlights, but I don't think they come out of the West at all. They would have been exciting to see. They're not coming out the West.
They would have been the Toronto Raptors with Mac and McGrady and Vince Carter. Just 2 wings just dunking on folks, not winning no games. So the question really is, if Jordan goes to Portland, is he still Air Jordan? Or did he need a big market bottom feeder team so he can just go be himself without any red lights?
I think him and Drexler would have made Portland a big market because of their play and their style. And the Nike headquarters is right there. You probably would have seen posters. They probably would have tried to convince Drexler to come to Nike. You'd have seen posters of the Air Squad. Michael Jordan still would be legendary, but I don't see him getting 6 rings like that. Because remember, he said he had problems with his teams having problems with Olajuwon. He would have to face Olajuwon and Admiral in a way.
Yeah.
He'd have to face those dudes more and more, and that would have been problematic for his team. And it all depends on what Portland does in the draft. You know, Portland is notorious for drafting people when they don't pan out. So, no, it is what it is.
So Jordan needs to count his blessings, or he would have been Sam Bowie. Where is he? Where is Sam Bowie? Please, somebody find him and ask him how did it go down there in Portland.
He's in the Kentucky Hall of Fame. We know that.
That's crazy how just one little change in history would change if Jordan goes to Portland, just imagine how many dudes would not be wearing number 23. How many dudes would not be modeling their game after Michael Jordan? If he doesn't win those dunk contests and those championships and has those sneakers and just the aura of being the Chicago Bull, I think the whole thing was perfect for him, man. A downtrodden city, hardworking city, red and black. They had that announcer, and now from North Carolina, 6'6" guard, Michael Air. You know that Chicago Bulls intro song? I mean, I'm like, all that stuff made me a fan of a team I hated.
I think Jordan would have still been Jordan though. I mean, just minus the rings. And I think that he would have been Dominique Wilkins.
I'm saying we love labeling players. That was our topic earlier. Who would he have been? Dominique Wilkins? Dang.
Been Dominique Wilkins, an exciting
with a jumper,
transcending player with no rings, maybe.
Dang.
Maybe.
Wow.
Him and Drexler probably would have got 1 or 2.
Dang. That's crazy, man. That's crazy how one little change, like you go back in the time machine, don't change nothing. We might be wearing somebody else's shoes today.
Yep.
We may not be paying $300 for these Jordan 3s that I got off the bootleg website. J's. They still sell like hotcakes, and he ain't played in what, 30 years? Come on, man.
Yep.
That dude.
He's a cultural figure now for fashion.
Yeah, man. All right.
All right. Here you go. Number 3. What if society was still segregated? How would you rate black leagues, both pro and college, versus the white leagues?
Ooh.
How would you do that?
It would depend on how much money. Like, we would have the talent. It's like the HBCUs. We have the talent here and there. We just don't have the financial wealth to compete with the PWIs. So I'm thinking in a league, they were still segregated. It's actually something that the way we saw social justice unfold and blow up in our faces the last couple years is something that would have been welcomed right now. Like, I would love to be separate, not have to worry about nothing. But since it is the way it is, just looking back, if it were segregated, we would be seen as the superior athletes, but there would still be a stigma that we play a different brand of ball, kind of like the NBA and the ABA. They try to label the ABA as this street ball, not organized to win in a thinking man's game. Kind of like the wishbone. The further down in levels you go, the more effective it is. But if you go against some guys that think, they can stop the wishbone or the wing T by just reading the guards and crashing, and you now have to do something else. So now you can no longer manhandle and out athletic everybody. You got to outthink people. So we would have that stigma that we weren't thinkers, because we're still seeing it in coaching hires. They think we can't think. They think we can't intellectually compete. And I think that would still be the same knock. Like the Harlem Globetrotters are great to watch, or the And1 mixtape guys are really fun to watch, but they can't play no ball.
Yeah.
And we would always have that hanging over our heads. But I think the talent will be incredible. If you look at any league that's professional, we have outliers that are just incredible specimens, incredible minds, like the IQ of LeBron James, the IQ of Mookie Betts, the IQ of all these guys that play at a high level. It's not just physically, it's intellectually. They figured the game out, and it's slow to them, and they can easily get things done because they put their mind to match their athletic ability. Just imagine if we had a league full of those guys. It'd be incredible. It would be just a matter of how will we be in society as opposed to what we be in these athletic leagues where we have the same stature. Like we have Black Wall Street, where we have like your financial equity plan, that we would have our own states, our own cities, and we would only interact when necessary. We have our own leagues. We be the top of the top, man, athletically. We just wouldn't play the sports you can't play. I'm cool on hockey. We got a few guys that play hockey. We probably wouldn't have the best golf. We don't have the patience, but we have the guys that could play at a high level. But will guys want to play something that's that boring or that slow? Yeah. Same thing with soccer. Bros don't play soccer because it's only 3 or 4 goals per game. So up the scoring and bros will play. So it's just it's something that is worth thinking about. But I know the talent and the intellect is there. We would have an outstanding product, and if we had the resources to go with it, it'd be definitely something to compete with everybody that's playing professionally.
Do you think that they would create a Super Bowl where you have the black NFL or the BFL Black Football League champion play against the NFL champion? Do you think they would have did something like that? Yeah.
It's called like the Texas high school championship game, Carter High versus Permian High. You'll eventually have to have that inter league battle, because you always get that our champion will beat your champion. Now, if we just start dominating and destroying them, because if you think about it, they would only have the advantage in the trenches. If they had a couple of big corn-fed white dudes on the line, and we had big country boys from Alabama and Tennessee on our line, they would battle down low. But as skill position wise, there's a reason why there have been no white cornerbacks. And that's not a racist statement. I mean, I ain't seen a white cornerback since Jason Sehorn. So
Yeah,
it
that's
would
true.
it would be hard to compete. Now in basketball, I haven't seen a white starting five in a long time.
Yeah.
Even the Celtics of 19, I want to say 19. What year was that? It was it Casey Jones and Bill Russell, all them guys. It was
Casey Jones, Sam Jones, and Russell. They were black. They even had an all-black starting five one game
Yeah,
for the
Boston Celtics.
So
I
they
saw
had
that.
brothers on the team.
Yeah, I think it's possible. It wouldn't be liked, but yeah, it wouldn't. It'd be like it'd be rough, man. It'd be. I mean, we'd be running. I mean, it wouldn't even be fair, bro. Just imagine you got Randy Moss, you got Tariq Hill, you got all them dudes with no names on KC running the track meet. Just run all goals.
Oh, it would be bad.
All goals.
Which team would Patrick Mahomes be on? He mixed.
The way he ran for his life in that Super Bowl, I think he's gonna side with the white dudes. He wanted some protection. He wanted that same protection Tom Brady get.
Hey man, we both know one of the greatest linemen of all time, J.O. J.O. Black.
Yeah.
So there's some great black old linemen. So
Yeah, there have been, but the majority of them boys, the Hall of Famers are brothers, but the majority of them lines, everyday lines, is white guys.
Speaking of lines, man, you heard the Pouncey twins retired today.
Yeah, and I heard that J.J. Watt got released from his contract. So I don't know what the Texans are doing. If they're gonna clean the house, let Watson go.
I think we got to get another team leaving Houston soon.
They might just give it up. It's like Major League, the movie. The Cleveland Indians just play real bad on purpose.
Take the lead.
We got Willie Mays Hayes out there. No Super Black White Bowl. Super Black White Bowl. Yeah, it's like the Black House, the White House. After you win the championship, you going to the White House or the Black House? You going to the D.C. to the White House, or you going to go to Oakland to Dame Lillard's house? All right, so whose turn is it?
It's
Segregated.
back to you.
Okay, segregated. All right, so my last one. Yeah, I think
This
so.
is the number 4 one.
All right. So it's all well documented that Bubba Chuck AI was a all-state football player. Basketball was his second love. What if AI plays football instead of basketball?
Oh man, I broke this out. I had to do my research. So I broke it down.
Stat
I broke it
Max
down
in the house.
Broke it down to 5 schools that he probably would have went to. All right. He's a Virginia boy. So UVA with Coach Welsh, they were pretty good when he was would have been getting recruited. Frank Beamer at VTech. Both Virginia Tech and Virginia were 2 good universities at that time, 1994. Bobby Bowden at Florida State, a scrambling quarterback that can make things happen in the image of Charlie Ward. Syracuse with Paul Pasqualoni. He probably could have went there. And then Mac Brown at UNC. So how I broke it down, if he would have went to UVA, he'd have probably got turned into a DB. Because he had Mike Groh. They already had Mike Groh there. And he played for like 2 years. But AI had been patient enough to sit behind Mike Groh for 2 years. Also would have to battle his homeboy from the hood, Aaron Brooks. Him and Aaron Brooks are from the same type of community. So you have to battle Aaron Brooks. And Aaron Brooks, I think, didn't you play with Aaron Brooks? Did you play with Aaron Brooks?
I was already gone when he got there.
Okay. So Aaron Brooks was a heck of a quarterback. I think he had a Pro Bowl season and stuff like that. So he would have been really good. That would have been a challenge for him. He goes to Virginia Tech. We might see that first Mike Vick. He would have to battle with Jim Druckenmiller. I played with, well, let me not say I played with Druckenmiller. I practiced with Druckenmiller in San Francisco. They were not hot on him. They were mad that they wasted a first-round pick on him. I think AI beats him out. We get to see the first Michael Vick. That would have been Allen Iverson in number 3. Bobby Bowden at Florida State. They had so much talent there. He would have to sit behind Danny Cannell for 2 years. But I think he beats out Thad Busby if he doesn't switch positions, because he could have played DB or running back at Florida State. Florida State just say, hey, you're an athlete, go do something for us. Remember Charlie Ward, first 2 years, he played receiver, and then he was a quarterback. So if he went there, the sky would have been the limit. Paul Pasqualoni at Syracuse, he gets turned into a receiver because I don't think he's beating out Donovan McNabb as a quarterback at Syracuse. And with Mac Brown, he starts all 4 years because these quarterbacks, Staniak, Mike Thomas, Oscar Davenport, and Chris Keldorf, I don't think they're beating out Allen Iverson. We would have seen Allen Iverson in Tar Heel, blue and white, and he would have become the Jordan of North Carolina football, and they probably would have won a national championship in '98. Probably would have upset Florida State at home, and next thing you know, we see AI running around with cornrows and doing all type of stuff, not practicing when it comes to
practice.
Come to football in the pro.
You talking about practice?
He'd have got drafted by the Washington football team, and then it would have been on the crack.
You think you would play receiver, not corner? He looked like a corner with them long arms.
He looked like a corner, but I think he would have. Because if you see his highlights from high school, man, he was a hell of a quarterback. He made plays, but he was also a good DB too. So yeah, I think depending on what school,
too small for safety, but mean enough to play defense. So I would have put him out there on cornerback to see what he could do. Jay Moore said, "Who would have took him after the trouble he got into? Which team would have took a kid who had some baggage?
Miami would have definitely took him.
He'd have been at the U.
It's all about that U.
He had that swag. He had that swagger.
They would have loved him at the U too.
Who was it? Erickson? Who was the coach? Erickson?
It was Erickson.
Yeah. Was Erickson. Bring on down to the U. We'll take you. You beat up a whole bowling alley? Come on down. Hey,
remember before we played them, they had that Sports Illustrated article that came out about what they was doing in the dorms. I was like, man, them dudes is wild.
He's 6 foot 165 and he beat up 18 people. We could take him at the U. We need guys like that.
All right, here we go. Number 4.
All right.
What if Jimmy Johnson never leaves the Cowboys? What happens?
Did the team stay intact? They three-peated, right? Did they win?
They 3 out of 4.
3 out of 3.
Could have 3-peated. They won 3 out of 4.
I think they squeezed one more. out of the big three. But I think they were getting long in the tooth. But I know, similar to the '98 Bulls, they had a little bit more left in the tank as a high-performing all-star trio. I believe you still had Larry Brown. Was it left tackle? And
they had a good line still.
Yeah, Nate Newton, them guys. So if that line stayed intact, that team wins another championship. And it goes down.
So they get 4 out of it?
They go down as one of the best teams ever with 4 chips. Even though we hear every day that Troy Aikman was just a good, game manager that handed the ball off to Emmitt Smith and threw slants to Michael Irvin. He too had a winning gene, because I believe he was 0-16 as a rookie, or 1-15.
1-15.
But you come back and become a Hall of Famer, and he's a Bruin who had to persevere at Oklahoma before transferring to UCLA. I'm not sure how he went to Oklahoma with Jamel Holloway there, but
I'm assuming ball.
I was like, why in the world did he go to Oklahoma? Barry Switcher's going to run the football. But he did have a little bit of ability. But with Jimmy Johnson and Jerry Jones let Jimmy Johnson do his thing for a couple years, you can see he brought that Miami swag. He brought that speed at positions that you needed, where he would put linebackers on the D-line. You would put safeties at linebacker. So you would be bigger and stronger at certain positions, but most positions you'd just be faster. And he was really good with talent evaluation. So I believe they would have been good for about 3 more years. Because I know they all have a window of greatness. Even we saw it with the Patriots. They milked that thing for 6 championships out of Tom Brady. Not that Tom Brady was the only good player in that whole dynasty, but they had a system with a coaching staff that let the guys play at a high level, and guys were happy to play there because they were the Dallas Cowboys. I mean, I had my boy Omar Stoudemire played for them, and he said, man, ain't nothing like being a Dallas Cowboy living in Dallas. You don't pay for nothing. Life is all good. It's like going to get something to eat, and they say your money is no good here. It's like being a king, especially when you're winning. So I know they would have had some success. Would have guys stayed healthy? Would Emmitt still been able to be high level back? Because they did eventually getting rid of him at some point to the Arizona Cardinals. So it's a crazy what if, but I do believe they win one more championship.
Yeah. Do you think he would have through the draft and through free agency he'd have just kept rebuilding that roster, kind of like a la Belichick? You think Jimmy Johnson would have did that?
I think it depends. If anybody moved, was this free agency yet? Was this a time where players could.
They had some free agency. Because remember, Reggie White left Philly and went to Green Bay in free agency. So,
but I think they were all well paid in Dallas. So I know Jimmy would have went to the draft, but I don't think he would have been against grabbing a Deion Sanders. They ended up getting Deion Sanders at some point, but I believe Jimmy Johnson was already gone. Wasn't he already gone? Or did Jimmy?
Already gone. He was already gone by then.
So Barry Switzer got yeah. So I think the need for talent, I believe Jimmy would not have been against getting talent. So via draft, via free agency, he would have got players. You know you can't win without guys. Yeah. All right, man. Well, Mo, from you, what if Bo Jackson never gets injured?
Bo Jackson never gets injured, man. Woo, boy, LA would have been on and cracking. But this is how I see the Raiders going. If he decides to retire from baseball and goes football full time, we have the West Coast version of the Buffalo Bills. 4 Super Bowls, 4 losses. And this is why I say that. In his 4 seasons of part-time football, he ran for 2,782 yards and 16 touchdowns, caught 40 passes, 352 yards, 2 touchdowns. But he goes, you know what? I want to be a great running back. So his first full season would be 1991. That year, the Washington football team was great. I think that the Raiders would have won the AFC, but they would have ran into that buzzsaw of the Washington football team in 1991. That team was 14-2. I have the Raiders, because of Bo Jackson, they had to get an extra 2 to 3 wins. I have him running for over 1,600 yards and nearly 20 touchdowns that season, but it wouldn't have been enough to get them past the Washington football team. The next season, I think they get back to the Super Bowl because they're going to run Bo till his tongue fall out, but they lose to the Cowboys, who were at that time with the triplets reaching their magnificent peak. So they lose to the Cowboys that next season in 1992. I see him running for over 1,400 yards, double-digit touchdowns again. Now, the next season will be his best year to win it. It would have been his best year to win it because Tim Brown was a Pro Bowler that year. So they had a Pro Bowl wide receiver with Bo Jackson. But I see them losing to the Cowboys again. I think the Cowboys are just a better football team, period. They would have beat them again. Another 1,600-yard, double-digit touchdown season. Then when it came down to his last opportunity to win it with the Raiders, they'd end up playing that 49ers team with Deion Sanders and Jerry Rice and all of them. They still would have won the AFC. They just lose the Super Bowl. He was over 1,400 yards because the Raiders are just not going to be better than these teams. We're talking about some all-time great teams if you look at those teams and the rosters. Then I think he retires the next year after they lose to the Steelers in the divisional playoffs. So the Steelers will go to the Super Bowl the next season and lose to the Cowboys. But I have him running for 11,000 yards plus and about maybe over 100 touchdowns in that time frame, but he never gets to get the championship. But he would be forever etched as Bo Jackson, Tecmo Bowl superstar, Bo Jackson, Raiders legend, and one of the best running backs to ever play the game.
So would that have changed one of the greatest running backs to the greatest running back? Like those numbers you spit off, could he have ever gotten 2,000 yards?
It's a possibility, man. The Raiders, people forget the Raiders in the early 90s were a very good franchise. But it depends on how much they would have ran the ball with Bo. You know, Al Davis loved his fast receivers. They had Swervin' Mervin Fernandez, James Jett, Sam Grady, Tim Brown. They had a track team over there. He ain't going to just pound him when he has all these explosive weapons to throw the ball to. So what would have hurt those Raider teams would have been a quarterback. For 2 years, he would have had Jay Schrader, and for 3 years, he would have had Jeff Hostetler. Those aren't great quarterbacks. I mean, we love Schrader. He's a Bruin. But at the end of the day, that would have been the Raiders' downfall. Teams would have stacked the line of scrimmage and say, okay, let's let these dudes throw the ball. Even though the Raiders had weapons, Tim Brown was your best receiver. And will Tim Brown be the game breaker against these all-time great Washington football teams, these Cowboy teams, and those Niner teams? I don't know. I don't think so.
My imagination and my fandom, since we were robbed watching the Super Bowl, what I wish I could have seen is the little glimpse we saw of how great Bo could have been as he played two sports. I just imagine if he didn't play baseball and he focused on football, he didn't have to share with Marcus Allen all them years he did, and he was just a feature back. I think as fast as he would run that ball down the sideline, that even Al Davis would have to say, hey, I got some speed in the backfield. Let's feed him 35 times a game until he can't.
Yeah.
Injuries aside with a lot of different athletes, but for Bo Jackson in particular, for me, I would have loved to see how far he could have gone without the injuries. I know as bad as my hip feels right now, I know there's no way you can tote. How much did he weigh? 240? 235?
He's about 230.
And he ran a 415 or something crazy like that.
Crazy like that.
And can jump out the building. So he had Eric Dickerson speed, Earl Campbell power. He's faster than Eric Dickerson, but you remember Eric Dickerson was the last home run running back we've seen. Like, when's the last time we had a home run running back that can go to the crib?
Chris Johnson.
Chris Johnson could go to the house. Yeah, I forgot about him. But yeah, like Marshall Faulk, Chris Johnson. It's very rare you got a running back that can go to the house.
Yep.
Gaston Green style. All right,
your last one, man. Here we go. What if, man, and this is for Laker fans. Laker fans probably would have loved this. What if the Lakers take Dominique Wilkins number 1 instead of James Worthy number 1? What are those players' legacies now? How does those legacies look?
Wow. Dominique gets those rings that James Worthy got. I don't think Dominique makes the Lakers much better. I think he makes them more athletic. And because I don't remember Dominique Wilkins on defense. I don't remember if he was able to drop his butt and play serious lockdown defense. I know he was not a punk, but I don't remember James Worthy being that great on defense either. I mean, he blocked some shots, but so I think they're the same player as far as productivity. But James Worthy did not have to be the 26, 27 points per game Dominique was through all those years in Atlanta, and there's no guarantee he would have been that with the Lakers. He was the guy in Atlanta. Now, what if James Worthy was Atlanta Hawk all those years? I believe he would have been an all-star. I believe he would have been really effective. Doc Rivers would have been his point guard, right?
Yeah.
He would have got him the ball, but not like Magic got Worthy the ball. I think is Dominique a Hall of Famer yet?
Yes, he's a Hall of Famer.
So, yeah, they both are still Hall of Fame talents. I think their game translates in any era. Dominique's jumping ability and ability to score the ball from 15 feet out translates to the Laker game. James Worthy's, simplicity of how he got buckets, I think that translates to East Coast or West Coast style of ball in the NBA. So I don't think it changes anything except the Lakers' showtime would have been that much more exciting to see Dominique cramming on dudes. Whereas James Worthy would just put it in with the nice little James Worthy dunk was pretty boring. Dominique would have been two-hand tomahawking them passes and funking on dude with 2 feet. He would have been all over that rim, man. It would have been fun to watch. Since there was no Dominique in Showtime, we were waiting for Brian Scott and Koopaloop to make exciting dunks because Kareem was pretty straightforward. Worthy was straightforward. Rambis was straightforward. McAdoo was straightforward. No flash except Magic. So you got Magic and Dominique. Ooh, that's highlights every night, man. Do
you think the Lakers get more titles out of those having those guys?
No, I think they're just as effective. It's Magic and Kareem were the staples. Worthy was big game James, but I don't think Dominique is a better option. I think he's just more exciting. Now, would he have been able to share that ball? That's kind of like where I don't know how Dominique's game. Like, I never watched Dominique in the All-Star game. I'm not sure how he even played alongside other All-Stars. But I know James Worthy was complimentary to anybody. So do they win more chips? I don't think so. I think they still win 5.
I think they win 2 more. I think because the way Dominique can take over a game down the stretch with his athleticism,
take the pressure off,
and his ability to score, I think they sneak 2 more out of that. I don't think they, like when you see the Lakers Celtics thing and Worthy was like he was spooked by Bird a little bit. I don't think Dominique would have backed down.
No.
I think he's built a little bit different. But that's just what I.
But Bird gave Dominique buckets, right?
Yeah, he gave Dominique buckets, but Dominique would give him buckets back. They had that game 7 where Bird went for 33, but Dominique went for 47.
Yeah.
So it's not like Dominique would be like,
50
okay,
piece. I'm gonna give you 50. 50 in the L, 50 in the loss. 50.
So it'd have been exciting.
Man, what if? What if? All right, man. Let's wrap this thing up. We got a couple guys on here saying, boy, Nathan in the house. Big Nate, what's up, man? Nate said, but the Lakers wouldn't have had James Worthy smoking cigars in the studio for them games now. Worthy clap. See, Worthy wouldn't have got caught up with them side chicks either. Worthy
probably not.
Yeah.
Huh?
Well, no, Atlanta's probably worse. Atlanta ain't no better than LA with the side chicks. You gotta get your AC Green on, bro. You're gonna be in trouble.
The side chicks in Atlanta, you have to check the throat though.
Check the throat in Atlanta.
Check the throat and the plumbing.
I think Dominique did pretty well. He was a bachelor for all them years too. All right. Top 5 favorite sports athletes, regardless of sport. All right. Let's do it. Who you got?
All right. So I'll start off with number 5. Number 5 is the person who made me really love basketball. And just watching her play was always a privilege. And you always hear me say, she's my favorite basketball player of all time. She's not my favorite athlete when it comes to playing basketball, but she's my favorite basketball player because of how she was able to play the game. Cheryl Miller, even though she's a Trojan, she's my favorite number 5 favorite athlete of all time. Who you got?
Cheryl Miller. Let's see who I got. Number 5 for me. More recent guy. Played for my favorite team. My year coming out of high school, so that's kind of a funny favorite in that he's my age. But Allen Iverson overcoming what he overcame as far as his hardships in high school, having to sit as long as he did before anybody gave him a chance. John Thompson gave him a chance, and he went to Philly, of all places, where it's so hard to please fans and the media. He said, you talking about practice, and he still took a bunch of regular dudes to the finals and gave the Lakers their only loss in a 4-4-4 potentially final run for the Lakers. AI dropped 50 on them game 1 and got him a little bit of taste. And I think Kobe Bryant said it best, y'all lucky he's not 6'5". He did so much with his little bitty body. He gave everything he had every single night, and he was always worth the price of admission, despite being 6 foot 165. AI, one of the toughest little guys ever to play the game.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. All right, here we go. My number 4, he's a more current player. I became a fan of his when I met him at the Fellowship of Christian Athletes Rose Bowl breakfast when he played at the University of Wisconsin. Russell Wilson. I just love how this guy carries himself, the things that he can do on the football field. He seems to be a very good leader of men, and I enjoy watching him play. And he has a beautiful wife to boot. But the main thing I really love about him is his faith. And he's never been a person who hides his faith. He's very open about his belief in God and belief in doing the right thing. So Russell Wilson, more than just an athlete to me, just a person, period. I'm a big fan of Russell Wilson.
Cool. I'm gonna stick him on your side so people that tune in can see who we picked so far. Let me put mine up there. AI, shrink it down a little bit. All right, cool. All right, so I got my number 4. I'm gonna go with the track athlete in that I'm a huge track fan, and Florence Griffith Joyner. Man, I was enamored with FloJo. I could not get enough of FloJo watching her run. She was so elegant. She had her nails done. She had her good weave. She was fast, and she just brought a whole nother something to the game. Like, she wasn't mannish. Like a lot of the women that ran track sometimes got a little bit too hard, too masculine. I'm gonna say that is the right word.
Yeah.
she was just gorgeous, and she ran, and she loved her husband, and she was just a woman's woman, and she was the fastest woman on the planet. Unfortunately, she had some speculation about PED use, and she unfortunately passed away from heart issues. But when she ran, bro, was nothing like watching FloJo. I mean, I love Marion Jones, I love Jackie Jordan Kersey, I love Gail Devers, I love Joanna Hayes, but FloJo was the one for me, man. FloJo. She topped Serena for me, for female athletes.
Yes, man. FloJo was that '88 Olympics, man. It was breathtaking. It was something to behold, to see a woman who, like you said, she was a woman's woman. She looked like a woman. She looked a part of a woman. She was beautiful, man. It was like watching a queen out there running, and she wore her crown well. Where she rest in power.
Yeah.
Queen FloJo.
FloJo. Don't nobody say nothing bad about FloJo. That's where I lose it. That's where I go off. All right, you got number 3.
Now, the next person that I'm pulling up is a person that I don't know, man. Since he got in the league, I know he's a Sixer. He was a Sixer, then he was a Sun, then he ended up being a Rocket. Just teams I just don't really. I mean, I kind of like the Suns, but I was just a big fan of this dude. So Charles Barkley, man, it's not just what Charles Barkley did on the court. It's just his whole what he's done after sports too. I mean, sometimes he sounds like a big hater when he be on the show, but I love Charles Barkley, man. I mean, he was a guy who took no nonsense on the. He played his butt off, even though he thought he could shoot 3. He's one of the worst 3-point shooters ever. But I love Charles Barkley, man. I just love seeing that dude play because he gave his all. And he was an undersized, well, he was an under height. Let's not say undersized, but sometimes he was almost 300 pounds.
Wow.
He was an under height guy. He's vertically challenged. But man, just imagine if Charles Barkley was 6'9", 6'10" at power forward with his motor, his engine, and his skills. Man, we would be talking about who he'd be the GOAT.
He would have won. He might have won one. He might have got him one.
He would have won a couple. I think he'd have won a couple.
And I think about guys who say Jordan didn't play nobody. Charles Barkley was a dude. Like, Charles Barkley was a force, man. He would do 40, 12, and 15. He would have numbers, and for a chunky guy, he went hard every game. I was like, how does he stay chunky as hard as he goes? But he loved to eat. I got a weight problem. Love to eat. So yeah, Charles Barkley, man. But it never won a chip. Even that championship team, was it 83? And then he joins the team in 84.
His year late.
And they don't win it. How's that team not win it? And
they were getting long in the tooth. Dr. J and Moses Malone.
But they just went 4-4-4. Like, they just went to the championship, and a year later they're like, man, we tired. This young boy got too much energy. We tired. Man, we tired too. Charles Barkley. Throw it down your throat like Barkley. All right, so number 3 for me. I believe I got Sweetness. To me, the best running back of all times. Him and Barry Sanders, 1A and 1B, but I got Walter Payton as my favorite football player of all time. He played for the Bears, might have been the wrong team, but there was something about Walter Payton, the way he played every game, the way he attacked people, the way he held the football. His name was Sweetness in an era where you wanted to be sweet, where it was cool to be sweet. You were like, man, you look sweet in your uniform. That dude's name is Sweetness. And we didn't know, his voice was so light, we didn't know if he was a pimp or what. But he spoke like, he was like the Mac. He reminded me of the Mac of my 70s exploitation films. All the pimps sounded like Walter Payton. And this was before, brothers would come across as funny style. But if you sounded like that, it means you had women. It meant you had class and style and dignity. Like, he was like, I'm going to hit you in the mouth. It was like Walter Payton's Sweetness. And he carried the Bears team, and he finally got him a chip. Didn't get the score in the championship game, which I'm still mad at Mike Dicker for that. I asked him that when I played for the Saints. I said, Mike, man, why didn't you get a ball to Walter Payton? He said, I really just forgot. I said, how you forget to give Sweetness the ball? When he got y'all there after 25 years of playing running back for y'all, and y'all didn't reward my man with a pill. in the red zone. Give it to William, the refrigerator Perry gets a touchdown. So that was tragic.
Yep.
That was tragic, man. But Walter Payton, man, number 3.
One of the classiest dudes ever, man. I'm glad I did sign with the Bears out of college.
You got to meet him.
Got a chance to meet Walter Payton and hang out with him and have the dude giving me encouraging words. I know it's a big surprise I don't have him as one of my top 5 athletes, but like we both said, man, this was a long list.
Oh, man.
Long list of guys. All right, here we go. My number 2. I love playing for the A's in Little League. I didn't like the A's as a Major League Baseball team because I'm a diehard Dodger fan. But somehow wearing that green and gold and trying to be Ricky Henderson, trying to steal bases and do all of that stuff, man, he's my number 2 all-time favorite athlete. Without a doubt, my favorite baseball player, the greatest leadoff hitter ever in baseball history. So Ricky Henderson, man, I love that dude, man. He played for the Yankees, he played for the A's, he played for the Dodgers. And man, he's just an all-around great talent, great outfielder, had speed, all-time base steals leader in MLB history, man. Love this dude, Ricky Henderson, man. Is my second favorite athlete of all time.
Anybody that speaks about himself in the third person is my kind of guy. Ricky gonna steal second base. Ricky bats first. Ricky gonna score. Ricky Henderson, one of the best to ever do it. All right, number 2 for me. This one's hard because I got 1 and 2. I'm gonna go with Dr. J, number 2. The Doctor. I grew up on him. My dad made me think he was Jesus. Like, this dude is the truth, the life, and there's nobody that's gonna play ball that goes through him. And his wingspan, his style, his grace, just everything about him, man. As a kid, I mean, you figure a kid watching TV like this, with your hands and your chin in your hands, just watching him just do his thing. And it was just something to see, even though we didn't see it like we see basketball today in live and color and HD. We probably had a busted up TV, black and white. But to see Dr. J operate, and then to hear the stories my dad would tell him about the playground games where he was actually able to see him play. And he might even had me thinking he played with him, because my dad was a playground legend in Philadelphia. But he never, he wasn't nowhere near Dr. J. But he's, he would tell me stuff like he played with him and Dennis Johnson play games and play pickup games and stuff. But, there's no film on it, so I'm more in that YouTube era. I didn't see it. It ain't on YouTube. Didn't happen. But Dr. J, man, if it wasn't for Dr. J, there would be no Michael Jordan. There would be no Kobe Bryant. There would be no LeBron James as far as style and how they played the game. He was one of the first guys that was creative and brought a street brand of basketball to the organized NBA. Dr. J, number 2 for me.
And he wasn't just a great basketball player in the city of Philadelphia. He was for the whole state of Pennsylvania. Because remember, he was the fish that saved Pittsburgh.
Fish that saved Pittsburgh.
Saved Pittsburgh. Dr. J.
If you ain't seen it, it's probably on YouTube by now.
Probably on YouTube by now, but that's a good movie. You got to see it.
Good, clean, wholesome.
Right. My number 1 athlete. I'm not big on paraphernalia from other athletes, posters. I used to collect cards and stuff like that, but that was when I was younger. This is the only poster I had over my bed for years. Randall Cunningham. He's the reason why I'm a big Eagles fan. He's the reason why, Tony Dorsett's the kind of reason why I love football so much. But Randall Cunningham, he handed the baton off to Randall Cunningham, and Randall Cunningham has been running with it since. He's by far my all-time favorite athlete. When you can make a man or a young kid change his football alliance. So I grew up a Cowboy fan because of my dad. But then I saw Randall Cunningham play against the Cowboys and was like, that's my team.
That's my team.
Love his style. Love how he plays.
That's him.
This is my new team. Another man of great faith. If you ever heard him talk.
He's a pastor. He's a pastor now, yeah.
Pastor. He coaches his kids in a high jump. His daughter is an indoor world champion in the high jump. Just a good man. I hated the fact that the Eagles didn't win one with him. His brief stint in Minnesota, I'm cheering for the Vikings. He was throwing those deep bombs to Randy Moss and Chris Carter, and they got upset because the kicker missed the field goal, so they didn't get upset in the NFC Championship game. But man, I just love this dude, man. Randall Cunningham, man. I never thought of ever playing quarterback before until I got put in the JV game to play quarterback, and I was like, dang, I wish I could switch my number to number 12 right now. So I just wanted to be Randall Cunningham, even though I didn't really dream of being a quarterback. I just love this dude, man. I just love his playing style. I love what he brought to the table, and he's the reason why I still love the Eagles till this day. Randall Cunningham is that guy.
Yeah, that's the next jersey I'm gonna get. I've been rocking this Randy White jersey for a while. Now it's time for Reggie White. I'm sorry, Reggie White jersey. Now I'm that number 12. I might get the white 12. Randall Cunningham, man. I thought he was 6'7". As long and sleek as he is, I thought he was tall like Harold Carmichael. But he's what, 6'4"? Is he 6'4", 6'5"?
About 6'4", 6'3", 6'4", about that.
He just looks so smooth, man. And he had that cannon. He didn't even have to. He was throwing balls, man, to Randy Moss. I mean, who gonna throw the ball? I mean, then you got, Culpepper comes and he can throw just as far as Randall Cunningham. But as far as running the football and jumping over guys, and Randall Cunningham, man, he changed the game. He did change the game. Randall Cunningham. Randall. All right, so my last athlete, man, I thought Muhammad Ali was Superman, man. I mean, growing up, I don't know if I had the comic book. I think my cousin might have had it. When that comic book came out, Muhammad Ali versus Superman. And you know how dumb we are. I mean, you had a superhero episode last night. And I was just kind of looking at some of the superheroes you were running off, like, man, what made us like certain people? Like, what made us like certain superheroes over others? And when they put Ali versus Superman, it was kind of like the man versus the brother man. It was kind of like, the black man versus the establishment. This is our hero. We don't have no black superheroes except Iron Man at that time. Was it Luke Cage? Was he Iron Man?
Power Man.
Power Man. We have Power Man in his yellow shirt and his blue jeans and his headband. So I was kind of like, that's all we got. And then I saw Muhammad Ali versus Superman. And I believe Muhammad Ali won in the comic book. Did he win the fight? I forgot.
I can't remember
how that went. But yeah, I was kind of like, but for a kid, that's very impressionable. Like, I was very much, at that point, I thought whatever he said was true. And then I heard what he was doing in the ring. I started watching boxing a little bit. And then I saw they took his belt from him. And I thought that was wrong. As a kid, you like, man, they did that to him? For what? And then he came back and won the championship again against some more bad guys. Against the baddest bad guy in the world, George Foreman. So I was kind of like, man, this dude really is a superhero. So I thought Muhammad Ali was invincible. I thought he was the greatest thing since Superman. And I was a big fan as a kid, man. And then he was entertaining. And, he was a country boy. And then when he changed his name from Cassius Clay to Muhammad Ali, I don't remember him being Cassius Clay till I got older to find out he changed his name. I didn't know nothing about Muslims. I didn't know nothing about Christianity and Muslim difference or whatever it was. All I knew is we went to church. I didn't know that Muhammad Ali was, a spiritual transition. And then he had to endure what he had to endure. So seeing all that as a kid and then growing up as an adult and then seeing the magnitude of what he faced as hate in this country, I had to just be enamored and in awe. He might have been the only athlete I would ever probably meet in person and be starstruck. That's the greatest of all time. And for me, he's my favorite athlete of all time, regardless of sport.
I hear you on that one. Muhammad Ali, man, I remember watching when Muhammad Ali fought Larry Holmes. And I remember as a family, we were sitting there crying that Ali was getting beat by Muhammad Ali. That Muhammad Ali was getting beat by Larry Holmes like that. Because remember, Larry Holmes looked at the ref and was like, man, stop the fight. Because Muhammad Ali was Larry Holmes' idol. It's like, man, you up in there fighting your idol. And I just remember as a family, man, we sat there and cried. Because it was just like this invincible black man who meant so much to blackness, to the struggle in America. It wasn't just blackness that he protected. He protected the right, freedoms, and the truth of all people. In there, when he got in that ring, he fought for the downtrodden, for the oppressed. And it was just tough to see that man lose that fight the way he lost that fight. You can see that he was a shell of himself. And I just remember crying, man. I just remember in my mom's arms, I'm crying, and my mom is holding me. My dad is trying to play it tough, like he ain't trying to cry. So he gets up and he walking away. But you can see that he crying, man. He was just that guy. I love boxing. And I try not to have this all-time favorite boxer because I know it's such a brutal sport, and I know it takes a toll on their bodies. So I try to emotionally keep myself away from saying this is my absolute favorite guy because I know how tough that sport is.
Oh man, that's the ultimate sport. Because you figure any sport, any walk of life, anybody cross you, we fighting. Well, Muhammad Ali is already fighting. He's already at the pinnacle of dispute and conflict. Me against you. These hands versus your hands. No kicking, no choking. I'm going to dot you up with these hands. And then I'm going to pray for you afterwards.
Yep.
Muhammad Ali, man. All right, man. I just got the notification from my man Deacon Steve Hill from my church, Christian Community Center, Los Angeles at Long Beach. And sad information that just came by. Apostle Fred Price recently, I want to say within the last hour, passed away. We've been praying for him. He had the COVID. And I know Fred Jr. Met him I actually saw Fred Jr. at a comic book expo. We are both big time comic heads. His dad is a giant in the spiritual world. He's helped so many families over the years, thousands of families, if not millions. He's a TV broadcast in Crenshaw Christian Center. And he will be dearly missed. Thoughts and prayers to Fred Jr. and his sister and the family, his wife, that congregation, all the believers of Crenshaw Christian Center. His son said something today on YouTube. Yeah, we've been praying, but his dad said maybe he's tired. Maybe it's time to be with the Lord. And they were at peace with it. So they just thought that this would not be the reason why their dad would leave this earth, is COVID. So that's the hard part. But it's gonna be hard. But we're gonna continue to lift that family up in our prayers, man.
Yeah, I remember watching his telecast with my grandmother. Sometimes I'd be at my grandmother's house, and she didn't want to go to church, so we would sit there and we would watch Reverend Price. A lot of people don't know, but he started a high school at the church, and afforded young people to go there and get a good education and get filled with the Spirit at the same time. They even put some people out, D1 athletes from Price. He was more than just a shepherd of his congregation. He was a shepherd of the community as well. So it's sad to hear that. Just the other day I was talking to my mom on the phone. The 700 Club came on. I was like, they still got that?
They still got that. Yeah, they was praying for Trump. Yeah. They was.
Yeah, but Frank Price was the black equivalent of the 700 Club. And that's what he meant to the people. He was able, if you couldn't get out your house, get to church. He brought church to your living room. And he brought God to your heart. And you knew the word from him. So, condolences to his family. That's just tough to hear. But he's a good man, good shepherd of the people.
Yeah, man. I remember going to his service a couple times with my mom when I was young, and we had to sit in the overflow room and watch it on the TV. I'm like, we drove way out here to watch TV. That's how loaded. That church was packed, man. It had it had a VIP section. He had a good thing going, and brought a lot of people. I believe our apostle of my church was good friends with him. They're classy gentlemen. They've done a great work their time here. His grandson played. Jay Moore says his grandson played NBA from Cal.
Okay.
Price High School. So that high school, I believe, played some high-level basketball. I remember seeing some long kids playing for Price. Might have to send my son down there if he keep tripping over here where he at. It's long.
Yeah, I've seen him play a couple of times. They played one of our family friends' son. He played for South Pasadena. They played them in the playoffs. And a couple of times they came to the prep when I was teaching there, and we beat them both times. But you got to understand, the prep was we're D1 school in the state. We're one of the a D1 school, and they wasn't. And they gave us really good games. So
Yeah, they
very very talented teams there.
They probably had 6 dudes that can play. Four,
They had 4 to 6.
and 4 guys in uniform. They're just happy to be there. Whereas the prep had 4,000 students, 20 guys on the basketball team.
Oh yeah, prep had some loaded squads, man.
All right, man. Final words.
Final words, man. Once again, man, we're in this month called Black History, and we're gonna need a lot of. How are we gonna come out of this? I mean, if you've been watching the Trump trials and stuff like that, he's gonna come out of this squeaky clean. They're not gonna impeach him. He'll be able to run again in 4 years. We need a plan. We need to find a plan to how are we gonna keep that man out of the office, one, and then as a black community, how are we gonna build? Because we have to start building more. We have to get out of whatever it is that we're doing and really get together and build ourselves a national community so we can make sure that we can make it through these next however many years we got left on this planet together. Because this country is starting to go backwards a little bit, and we need to get up out of this. We need to find a way to get this thing done and help ourselves out. But not just help ourselves out, we help the people. Because as long as we all can believe in God and have our faith in God, all people are people. But we know in this country, people aren't colorblind either. So we got to make sure we take care of our own and then bring the rest of the people up with us.
Amen, brother. I believe at my school district, we're learning about color brave, not color blind. So I know there's some efforts being made by our allies, if you want to call them that are trying to see us. And I think that's a great step in the right direction. So I want to continue that effort. I want to continue saying the names of those who have been wrongly harmed, hurt, killed in the names of social injustice, police brutality, racism, and hate in this country. I got a slide up with the names of all those who lost their lives recently, the last few years, including those recently, going way back to Eric Garner, fast forward to Breonna Taylor and Ahmaud Arbery, George Floyd, all these people. The struggle is not over. It's Black history, and yes, we are celebrating our illustrious history, but our current status is still not where it should be. So we got to continue saying, see us. We got to continue being visible. We have to continue being excellent, and we have to continue to make our allies and our adversaries empathize with us, see where we're coming from. It's time for this to come to an end. All the racism and hate, we saw it surface. We know where some people still stand, and will probably inherently stand forever. But we have to gain more people to overpower that number of people that have hate in their hearts, so that at least their kids will have an opportunity to make a choice to be on the right side of history. Because as it stands, man, when you got 75 million people voting for a person who could care less about equality, that's scary. So again, I don't think President Biden is the best president of all time just by merit, but he is the best president candidate we have right now. So I'm going to support him in what he has to do, and we're going to question everything he does, but we're going to support him because he at least has class. He at least loves his wife. He at least loves his kids. He at least has some dignity. So I think we have at least a chance to have a positive, productive 4 years. So in the meantime, keep fighting your individual struggles in your neighborhoods and streets, calling your politicians, calling your precincts, calling your neighborhood lawmakers to make sure your neighborhoods are safe. But in the meantime, as a people, as human beings, see the best in people and continue to pray for those who aren't always on your side. So, all right, brother.
All right, brother.
Good show, man. See you all next week. Hey, man, check all them brother podcasts out, man. Mike Stafford was a little bit late this week. He was on vacation, but it was on Wednesday, so check him out. I'm on Tuesday nights at 9, AC Sports Live. Matt, he's Thursday nights at 9. Sucker Punch. Punch you dead in the mouth. Oh. And Collective Podcast Thursdays at 12. And you are where you need to be, man. 1585. the granddaddy of them all, Jimmy Mack.
And happy Valentine's Day out there to you guys.
All you lovers,
Wives, love up on your wives.
remember your heart, 3 stacks. Keep your heart. Keep your heart, 3 stacks. Play your part. Play your part. All right, y'all. Peace out.